all you kind of really need to know is, because otherwise it feels a bit odd even to somebody whose first language is English. The protagonist of this novel is called Audrey Death. And actually Death isn't that uncommon a name in England. There are in fact two large concentrations of deaths in East Anglia, one around Colchester and one a bit further north. Deaths, understandably, are a little bit uptight about their name, and many of them Frenchify it to Death and pretend, no, for real, and then say that they came over with the Conqueror, like every bloody body else in England. I mean, that Conqueror must have sailed with a vast armada in order to get. But it's the reason I chose it for my protagonist, apart from the obvious associations, was because it's a common noun that is also an English name, not unlike my own. You know, it's a common noun that has a lot of resonance. And the family in the book, in Umbrella, are based on my own family, on my grandfather's family, so that was the logical correspondence. In this scene, a man, one of the Death family, who's called Samuel Death, but his nickname is Rothschild, because he's a rather kind of magniloquent character, prone to wearing a rabbit skin overcoat, smoking a cigar. You know, he's orotund, makes big gestures. Decides, seemingly willfully, he has an errand to run, to take his 14-year-old daughter, Audrey, the protagonist of the novel, up to the West End of London on a Saturday afternoon, which is a very unusual thing for him to do. He's never done it before, in fact. And that's kind of all you really need to know before I read the passage. The only other thing you need to know is it's 1903. Umbrella. Getting down at Charing Cross, still sucking her pear drop, Audrey turns from the sooty black drain pipe of Nelson's column to be put upon by Phosphorine, the remedy of kings, and Players, Navy Cut, momentarily sandwiched between two sandwich men, and once freed, engulfed by the hubbub of the afternoon crowds. Clerks and shopwalkers, released for their half-day, dodge and jig across the road. One snappy chappie pops under the very shafts of a growler. The cabbie flicks his whip, but the three ladies behind, chandeliers wrapped in muslin, disdain to notice. Bloody oath! Her father's oath rises above the charivari as he upbraids a ragamuffin the worse for drink, who cavorts about an organ grinder. A few paces on, Audrey looks back at this man's pillbox hat, his torn and filthy scarlet tunic. He is an old soldier who hops on an ash plant, the empty leg of his trousers flapping. But Sam Death won't be caught napping. He weaves through the throng along the Strand, then wheels Audrey round to join a queue who are taking their turn to peer in the eyepiece of a kinetoscope plunked down beside the foyer doors of the old Tivoli. Her head ducked into this commedia, she sees a pretty Columbine pirouette around a capering ape. My eye escape? Her gyration not smooth, but jerking forward, then back, the double exposure of the film depicting a meeting with her transparent double. The title card slots in. Miss Lottie Farquhar, appearing nightly in Darker Delights. Stalls, seats for a limited period, 5 and 6pence, fully electrified. His paw on her again. Perhaps it be agreeable to you if we were to take the back way. Audrey wonders, what errand can it be that her father runs for Arnold Collins, his inferior? one he is always treated with amused contempt. The tip of his umbrella fingers the joins between the cobbles as they cross the corner of Covent Garden, ignoring the leather-aproned porters lounging against the empty crates, ignoring the rotten fruit underfoot and the Arabs scrabbling for it. The dusk is massing in the corners of the square, lying in wait. "Little Dublin," he remarks casually as they cross Drury Lane. Every third storefront is boarded up with heavy planks, some scrawled with crim sigils, although why? There's nothing here to have away. The narrow entries to the godforsaken courts are blocked off with timber bulwarks, and through a gap in one, Audrey sees the lime-washed ghost of a dwelling, some of the condemned tenants standing in front of it, their faces and clothing creased with dirt. They are, she understands, too weak, with hunger, to be dangerous. One boy her own age, who lolls in a doorway, wears no trousers, no pockets to pick. His man-sized shirt torn up past his hips, an idiot grin slitting his potato head. The final shard of the boiled sweet snaps between Audrey's teeth. They simper, the three little maids, women of the unfortunate class. Death chews this phrase over before spitting it out more coarsely. Women of the unfortunate class. They'll sell themselves for threepence, tuppence, or a loaf of stale bread. One makes as if adjusting something in her bodice. A corsage that's invisible. Audrey feels her bubbies prickle, and the sweat-damp shift still wadded between her thighs. I don't need no snowdrop bands. I need the WC. There are no words to say this. A year or so ago, yes, but not now. Beyond the pub hatch, where the whores have gathered, the street ends in another timber bulwark, this one 2 stories high and plastered with the pink cheeks, golden curls and frothing white suds of Hudson's soap. To the right of the hoarding, a cranny leads into a long, narrow lane, the carriageway barely wide enough for a cart, the shop fronts to either side antiquated, their many-paned and thick-mullioned windows plastered with Hudson's dirt, as are their horizontal shutters, some of which have been let down to form the basis of stalls. Up above are more wooden bafflers tilting out obliquely from the buildings. Audrey breaks step. Those? Death is amused by what's pricked her curiosity. Those are mirrors, Audrey. They catch a slice of the heavens and chuck it in the window. Of course, anyone peeping down from on top could see a body stepping into her smalls. Who is he? My father. As they go on, the hush she had not been aware of deepens. The never-ending snarl of the city streets tails away into a single bark, tossed from jaws to jaws, a solo motor horn, yelping. The alleyway scores deeper into the damp clay. Halting, her father takes a small leather-bound volume from the stack of books on a stall, and as he lifts it to his face, the cover falls open to expose marbled end papers, then drops off altogether, along with several leaves that swipe their way to the ground. At once, a white head pops up from behind the stall. The Mad Mullah! Turns out to be a mousy man, his turban wound out of an Indian shawl, and when he's hauled up his pince-nez from the length of its black ribbon and clipped his nubbin in it, he sees Death clearly. Oh, it's you, Rothschild! He wheezes. Wordy notes. He has swallowed the consumptive's harmonium. Audrey's father gestures with the broken book. I shall, of course. Recompense you for any loss, Mr. Fellows. The mousy man plays a mournful chord. Why bother, eh? Listen. He gestures in turn. All done for now and gone. Done up proper. Done up prop. And there's another pump on the pedals. He oughtn't to run on so. He ain't got the breath. Mr. Fellows is tireless, his collar unfastened, his turkey throat gobbles. In the dark recesses of the shop, a caged bird fluttercheeps. Death utters this. As the papers have it, there's substantial compensation available along the way for those who've longer leasehold and freehold, naturally. For the first time, Audrey notices her father's ponderousness when he speaks proper. She blushes, and to hide her confusion takes a book from the pile on the stall. Sermons of the late Reverend Simon Lecoeur, D.D. A little friend of yourn, is she? She has attracted the bookseller's leer. Samuel barks, yes, a special little friend. He grabs her shoulder and twists her upright, pulling everything tight. Tell me, his grip tightens, has Mr. Beauregard ceased trading yet? The mousy man runs his fever-pink eyes the length of Audrey from top to toe before answering disdainfully, Beauregard won't cease till the wrecker's ball drops on that fucking garret. Not that he ain't made his arrangements, fixed up premises with some shonks on the Mile End Road. Death lifts the beetle carapace of his bowler, runs a hand over his damp pate. In that case, he says, I will ascend. He has some merchandise for Brother Collins. Mr. Fellows coughs, retches, spits derision. What'll you sum for him in all? This is a statement of fact, accompanied by the retrieval of a waxed paper, its unfolding, the savage poking of a pinch of snuff into his nostril. Death mutters. Maybe. He hooks his umbrella over his left arm and gropes deep in his trouser pocket. Audrey stands, wrung out and abandoned. Here! He presses a threepence into her palm, hard. You'll find a coffee shop along the way. Sit tight with a cuppa and a slice. I'll come after you in a bit. The mousy man's sneeze follows her down the road. She turns back once, but her father has already disappeared. A cake sits on a tin stand in the window of the coffee shop, which otherwise is indistinguishable from the run-down booksellers flanking it. Audrey looks at the cake, black as coke, on its dirty paper doily. A sign beside it contains 10-ounce chops, 6pence, cutlet, 3pence, fried onion, a penny. That's all. A man comes from within to stand in the doorway. Wound tightly into his apron, he's the same shape as the milk churn he sets down. He has thick black curly side whiskers, and below his red cheek a redder goiter rests on his Gladstone collar. A barefoot piker boy comes limping along the lane, his cap pulled right down, the sleeves of his man's jacket rolled right up. His arms are all striped lining. In one hand, he holds a skinned rabbit by its ears, and stopping by the coffee shop man, he raises it, bloody socket where its guts were, but says nothing. The man shakes his head. In a pig's arse. The boy limps on. Come in and eat before we both starve. It's a while before Audrey realizes he's addressing her, and then she complies. There's nothing much to the coffee shop. 4 pew seats, 2 rickety tables, Everything is coated with the brownish patina of tobacco smoke, grease, and ingrained dirt. The gas light and the geyser are confused in one another's piping. Both are lit. The man asks Audrey what she wishes for, and while he's absent in the back, the geyser heats up and begins to steam. Droplets condense on the ceiling, then fall, one hissing on the gas mantle. It's raining inside. She opens her hand. The threepence has impressed a portcullis on her palm. The man comes back with a mug of tea and 2 slices of bread and marge, sliced diagonally. I don't know why I does that, he says, looking at the droplets swell and fall. But I allus do. He turns the key in the pipe and the geyser pops off. Could I? Is there? There can be no mistaking, surely, the reason for her discomfort. He points offhandedly and says, Jake's is out back. She goes and finds a lean-to against the kitchen wall. Beyond it, another section of the 2-story-high timber bulwark. And beyond this, the wrecker's ball hangs in the foggy dusk. A black moon. When she returns, he's lit the geyser again, and as she nibbles the slices and sips the tea, he stands erect by the matchboard counter, head up, massaging the goiter, while doggedly listening to its rising notes. There's no harm in him. All that's left are crumbs, smears, dregs. Still her father does not come. Abruptly, Audrey rises from the pew. The man gives her a penny and 2 farthings change, which she holds so tightly as she walks back up the road that the metal discs replace her knuckles. Enigmarel, the man of steel. There's no one about except a tall gent in a topper who reminds her of an illustration she's seen of Bransby Williams, the personator. So cross-hatched is he by shadow. Fellows' shop is shuttered. Tapping fearfully on the door, she's relieved when it swings open, so scurries in to the smell of mouse droppings, cat's piss, and the ammoniacal residue of birds. Inside there's no illumination at all, only different strengths of darkness. The black bat night brushing against her. She mounts the stairs to the accompaniment of a concerto of creaks, 1 flight, a second, a third, and a fourth, then peeks along a landing at eye level to where bright white light leaks from beneath a closed door. She hears, in there, a sharp intake of breath and a piggish grunt. Her belly seethes with glowworms. Last month, Mary Jane fixed me up with cotton pads and an itchy belt sewn from hemming tape. When Audrey pointed out to her the advertisement in the back of a free library book, sanitary, absorbent, antiseptic, available from all drapers, her mother snapped, "What do you think we are?" but not unkindly. A cord that stretches taut from her tummy button along the landing and under the door draws her in with each every piggish grunt. She barges the door with her shoulder and collapses into a room lit brilliantly by clear bulbs under shades of frosted glass. In front of floor-length nankeen drapes, an aspidistra in a hammered bronze pot. Beside this, a chaise longue covered in green velvet. On this, the skinned rabbit, what the piker had, its glistening dead legs sticking up from a mess of petticoats. Standing with his back to Audrey, a bare-assed man does something to the rabbit's belly. Gutting it? No, no, no! That won't do! A florid man with pomaded hair in his shirt sleeves and a fancy embroidered waistcoat comes out from behind a kinematographic apparatus set up in the tapering corner of the attic. No, no, no! He cries again. His expression is mad and guileless. "This here girlie's torn it." "Mr. Beauregard," Audrey ventures. But the red-faced man ignores her. His regard is fixed. When Audrey turns back, there's no Coney, only a girl a little older than her, who sits on the chaise, buttoning her puppies into her bodice. The girl's hair is up, apart from a few stray locks, and atop its nondescript mass sits a lady's toque, complete with magenta-dyed ostrich feathers. There's no bare-arsed man either, only Audrey's father, who's standing there in his long rabbit-skin coat and buttoning up gloves I've never seen before. He doesn't acknowledge his daughter, but raises his bowler to Mr. Beauregard, says, "Au revoir, my dear," to the girl, and retrieving his umbrella and a brown paper parcel from behind the drapes, he conducts Audrey unceremoniously from the room.